All right, Jesse on Fire, welcome back to the channel. So Magomed Ankalaev is begging for forgiveness. And I think that he must have seen the light and realized that the things he said after UFC 282 were not smart. But here's the thing. A lot of stuff has happened since UFC 282. Only the beginning of it is Magomed completely changing his tune, making a public statement that I will talk about that is actually totally reasonable. Like, he's made a totally reasonable, statement, assuming that he's telling the truth about it. And I'll tell you exactly why. And then also, there are other developments, like one of the title contenders is going to train the other title contender for their title fight in a big twist of fate. So we'll talk about all of those things as we get into this thing. But first, on this channel, the agreement is it's a gentleman's agreement. If you want to watch my content, you just have to subscribe. You can watch the first one free, but if you're watching more, you subscribe to the channel. Jar at the front of the thing. It's on the honor system. You could just watch it and not subscribe if you wanted to be a dick about it. But I don't know. When I take the candy where it says, please leave a quarter, I just leave the quarter, And so that would be free to click subscribe. And I appreciate it very much. Thank you guys very much. The channel's growing fast and I genuinely very much appreciate that. Go ahead and comment too. I'm curious what you guys think about this because I'm going to make a pretty large claim about why Magomed is not out of his mind for being suspicious of the, of the judging. So, yeah, we're going to go from there. Now, so here's the deal. Let me start there, okay? So Magomed Ankalaev came out, and after Dana, obviously very pissed off about what he said after the event, he said, I definitely did not say that I wouldn't fight for the UFC again. That's what he was translated as saying after the fight. We all know this. I talked about it in my video yesterday. If you guys didn't see that, and you didn't know that, he was translated in the octagon as saying he wouldn't fight for the UFC again because of the decision, right? He said, I don't even know, where's my belt? I don't know if I can even fight for this organization anymore. Dana immediately is like, oh, Teixeira's going to fight Jamal Hill in very quick case, between the end of the fight and an hour later in his press conference, he's announcing another title fight, which obviously means he was pissed, dude. He was obviously pissed. So Magomed comes out and says, that's not what I said. I was mistranslated. I apologize to the UFC. What I said was I wouldn't want to fight in Las Vegas anymore, right? So he's saying, yeah, I wasn't talking about the UFC. I was talking about the city. I wouldn't want to fight in Las Vegas. And here's the deal, right? So when you first hear that, you're like my initial reaction was, that doesn't really make sense. I'm very curious what he actually said. So if you speak Russian or someone that is around you speaks Russian and you would go watch his post-fight speech and then comment to me or email me what he actually said, I would be very curious if he said the organization or if he said the city, right? I'm very curious about that because if he said the city, again, I'm going to make an argument that that's not unreasonable suspicion on his part, right? Like he's very suspicious of the decision. So if he said the organization, that was dumb. If he said the city and or anyone or anywhere in the United States, that's not unreasonable. It's not unreasonable at all. Like put yourself in his position, right? He's Russian, okay? Like he's Russian. Like, do you understand how American media talks about Russia all the time? Talks about Russian people, talk about the Russian government, just talks about Russia in general. Like we are constantly pounded with anti-Russian propaganda constantly. Now, if it's you and it's me, that shit goes in one ear and out the other, dude. Honestly, in one ear and out the other. Like you think that I look at like Khabib or like Magomed and I'm like, oh my God, these are the kind of people that would invade Ukraine. I'm like, give me a break. Okay. There's always 10 layers to why these things happen. And of course, this side that's fighting against this side is going to say that this side did blah, blah, blah. Like, I just don't even listen to it. I don't listen to it at all. I don't give it any credence. I don't care. Like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. If they said it was our fault, I'd be like, I don't believe it. Or like, oh, it's Russia's fault. I don't believe it. I don't care. Okay? I don't believe any of it. So, and not because I'm saying it's not true. They're just not trusted sources of information for me. So like, I'm not going to look at Magomed Ankalaev and judge him because he's from Russia. But if you're Russian and you're watching American media, because I mean, obviously he's here periodically, and you're seeing how people talk about Russians in America, and then you go and you fight like he fought, you win the fight, and they're like, no, it's a draw. And I'll throw another layer on top of that, okay? So it's not unreasonable to think that you would get fucked in America if you're a Russian, because of, just the judging. It's like, no, let's not give it to the Russian. I don't think we want that Russian to win. Like people are crazy. Okay. And I'm not saying that they did that, for the record. I'm not at all saying that the judges actually did that. I'm saying being suspicious is not crazy. Okay. Here's another layer to that. So where's Jan from? Huh? Where's Jan from? He's from Poland. Okay. Now, do you remember a recent incident where a missile hit Poland, and for a second there, it was like maybe a month and a half ago or a month or whatever, and it was like, oh my God, it was like a Russian missile hit Poland and killed 2 Polish soldiers. Poland is a NATO country. It's World War III. You remember that? And then it was like actually it was a Ukrainian missile that did, right? It was like, whoever, like whether it was a Russian missile, Ukrainian missile, whatever, the powers that be were like, wait a minute. Okay, hang on. Okay. We can't actually go to war with Russia, right? Like NATO's not actually going to war with Russia because that would require nuclear war and no one wants that. So it's like, yeah, that can't be a Russian missile. Like that can't be a Russian missile. But you had America, Russia, Poland. America and Poland are aligned in NATO. This just was in the media, right? And so your Magomed Ankalaev, you just got, you got screwed out of a decision, and you're looking over there, you're like, oh, I remember this. I remember Poland and the United States were in on this missile thing like, 2 minutes ago. And now they're not going to give me my belt. I don't think I want to fight in the United States anymore. I don't want racist judges that are racist towards Russians. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying you could understand how a person from Russia who doesn't speak English, who doesn't have really close relationships with any Americans that speak English because he doesn't speak English, would be suspicious. You know what I mean? So asking for forgiveness from Dana was very smart because Dana was pissed and, who knows? Dana looked hot, dude. Who knows if you're going to get forgiven? Now, the other part of the 205 division that is very interesting is it turns out that Anthony Smith is going to be training with Jamal Hill for Jamal Hill's title fight against Glover Teixeira. I thought that was really interesting because, I know him and, Anthony and Jamal are friendly, but they really both, like, obviously I know Anthony really well. I don't know Jamal, but I've been like around Jamal at UFC 274 at Fighter Hotel. And you can just tell, like, those two guys get along. Like, they will get along, kind of training together. So I find that really interesting. They're also built very similar. They're both big as fuck, They're very, very similar kind of like body, like, height, length, etc. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting because Jamal Hill was supposed to be fighting Anthony Smith in February. And now Anthony's going to be training with Jamal Hill for this Glover Teixeira fight. And given the context of the Anthony Smith and Glover fight where Anthony went in and fought Glover with 2 broken fucking hands, I still can't believe that, dude. That is one of the craziest things ever. Goes in there with 2 broken hands and then has that hellish fight. Way too tough for his own fucking good. No, I mean, Jesus. That's why in the last fight against Magomed, when people were like, oh, I'm sure it's a really serious injury or whatever. Like they were questioning whether he was really injured, which obviously it ended up being super serious, dude. Like a spiral fracture. He got fucking like, I can't remember what it was. He had some kind of like infection in his bone afterwards too. It was super serious. He almost fucking died. But yeah, like when people are questioning it, like over the next couple of days, I'm like, are you fucking serious? Do you guys not remember the Glover Teixeira fight? You're questioning Anthony's ability to absorb fucking pain? What the fuck? Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? He said he'd fire his fucking team if they threw in the towel. And he went in there, like, I think it was like 3 straight 10-8 rounds because he had 2 broken fucking hands, dude. Anyway, neither here nor there. But, yeah, that'll be really interesting. Jamal Hill against Glover Teixeira, and then Anthony. I wonder who Anthony's going to fight, dude. I think maybe Paul Craig would be a good fight because they both have great jiu-jitsu. I would be really interested in that fight too. Anyway, that is what I've got. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. I love you guys. Magomed, I got your back, dude. I mean, you're not out of your mind to be suspicious of that. That said, good job apologizing to Dana because he looked pissed. Peace.